What's happening, everybody? On today's show, we'll discuss the latest on Lane Kiffin and the Auburn rumors with our buddy Lyn Scarbrough of Lindy Sports. Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at LockedOnSEC.com. Hopefully, you guys are having a good Thanksgiving days off. But let's jump into it. Plenty to discuss. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff.
Around the conference.
Nick Saban getting ready for the annual Iron Bowl happening this weekend, and he was in front of the podium this week praising Auburn interim head coach Cadillac Williams. Saban said Williams has done very well in a situation that was not easy. Auburn 2-1 since Cadillac took over. Saban said, look, they're playing really well right now. I think you got to give Cadillac a lot of credit for that because it's not an easy situation he inherited relative to a changing of the guard right in the middle of the season. There are those who believe that if Cadillac performs well in this game, he should really be given a lot of consideration to take over as head coach. Of course, all those rumors out there regarding Lane Kiffin and the Auburn job. So we shall see. But back on the Alabama front, 17 Alabama seniors will be honored in Tuscaloosa ahead of Senior Day. Nick Saban praised his seniors, saying, look, we're honoring a group that's contributed amazingly well to this program, not only winning 46 games, a national championship, 2 SEC titles, but the class they've represented our university with. Among the notables that will be honored, Jordan Battle, Darian Dalcourt, DJ Dale, Emil Ekyord, DeMarco Helms, Cameron Latu, Henry To'oto'o, Byron Young, among others. So really big group for the Tide. Nick Saban also updated the status of several of his injured players. He said Eli Ricks, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Cameron Latu were all a full go at practice on Wednesday. He also said that Tyler Steen is back practicing from his ankle injury. So good news there on the injury front for Alabama. Lastly, for Alabama, Kyrie Jackson announced on social media he is going to enter the transfer portal going into a senior season. Is not a grad transfer. But Saban announced he has suspended him, did not travel to Ole Miss, and was not seen at Austin Peay game. Sorry, not verified that he's entering the transfer portal. Some believing that, but he was suspended. That's why he didn't travel to Ole Miss and was not seen at the Austin Peay game. So anyway, we'll see what happens with Kyrie Jackson in his future there. But came in as a community college transfer, and see if he gets right with Alabama. Over at Georgia, Kirby Smart is got one of the best weapons in all of college football this year. Georgia tight end Brock Bowers getting a lot of hype. So far this season, he has 41 catches for 625 yards and 4 touchdowns. He averages over 15 yards per catch. According to Pro Football Focus, he leads all FBS tight ends in yards after the catch with a total of 345 yards. They will take on Georgia Tech on Saturday at 12 Eastern at Sanford Stadium. Georgia still the number 1 team in the country. Over at Florida, Billy Napier talking with reporters on Wednesday ahead of their game against Florida State, updating the status of Ricky Pearsall. Napier said, we anticipate Ricky being ready to go this weekend. That's good news for the Gators with Xavier Henderson and Justin Shorter, who are out with lower body injuries, along with Marcus Burke, who's also out. Pearsall himself was considered questionable with an upper body injury. Napier said, we've been in this situation in the past. Caleb Douglas has stepped up for us. Jaquavion Frazier's. We anticipate Ricky being ready, and Day-Day had a big day last week. It's a great opportunity. On defense, Florida's leading tackler, Rashad Torrance, is available, and linebacker Ventrell Miller listed as a starter. He will miss the first half because of a targeting ejection. Over at A&M, they're looking to finish their season on a high note if they could upset LSU this weekend, but they will had to make a difficult decision to postpone their student bonfire this year because of issues with the new site and weather conditions. It was set to be the first bonfire at a new location for the first time since 2009 after the previous location was sold to land developers. The student-led bonfire is no longer held on campus after that tragic 1999 collapse. The bonfire is put on by a nonprofit organization called Student Bonfire, but they said due to the conditions of the new stack site and forecasted weather, they are postponing the burn for this year. It's an incredibly hard decision and in the best interest of everyone there. Over at Arkansas, they got an offensive lineman dealing with some legal issues. Fayetteville police arrested Arkansas O-lineman Jalen St. John on Tuesday, was released on bond on Wednesday, had a warrant out for his arrest for more than 14 months and finally had the warrant issued. It was for an alleged theft that occurred back in March of 2021. He allegedly took a victim's cell phone without permission and used it to send himself $1,700 from her online bank account. St. John appeared in all 11 games this year after he entered the transfer portal ahead of the Outback Bowl last year, then returned to the team. Sam Pittman says, we're aware of the charges against Jalen. He's been suspended indefinitely while we gather more information. Over at South Carolina, Shane Beamer still riding high after his big win over Tennessee last weekend. His offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, talking with the media and said that he knew Spencer Rattler was in for a big game, having 6 touchdown passes in the win over Tennessee. He said, quote, he was in the zone, played his ass off. You could tell 2 to 3 days before the game he was going to be ready to roll. Satterfield also confirmed he went with a version of plays and play calling like they had nothing to lose and just let it all hang out. And you could see it paid off for South Carolina. Lastly, over at SiriusXM, Dan Mullen and Rick Neuheisel talking about the Lane Kiffin rumors, and Dan Mullen asked his thoughts on if he thinks Kiffin is going to take the Auburn job. Mullen said, well, look, the message would come out if you're reading his tweets, you're saying there's no way he's going to take that job. But Mullen did go on to admit that Auburn has better resources than Ole Miss. But the question is, does Ole Miss have better resources than Mississippi State? He said Ole Miss has better resources in the state. Auburn doesn't have better resources than Alabama. Mullen said that's who you're compared against on a daily basis, and everywhere you go, the grocery store, to getting a haircut, to filling up the gas in your car, everywhere you go, that's what you're kind of judged on. So we will see if Lane Kiffin is indeed taking the Auburn job. Coming up next, we're going to talk about that with our buddy Lyn Scarbrough of Lindy Sports. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. A reminder, with all the games going on this weekend, you want to get in on the action. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get all these odds and trends for every game out there. It is all happening right there at BetOnline.net. They got football. They've even got basketball now that we're into college basketball underway. If you love all that, you can find it at BetOnline. It is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting fix. Head on over to their website today. You can do so on your mobile device, and it is BetOnline. It is where the game starts. Make sure you bookmark it in your phone. It should be the first place you check every day before you go get in on any action. And again, they've got it all there for you. The lines, the win totals, the spreads, whatever you want, you can find it at BetOnline. Odds, news, and scores. BetOnline, where the game starts. Roll along here in one of our favorite segments of the week, always catching up with our buddy Lyn Scarbrough of Lindy Sports. And Lyn, welcome in. Happy Thanksgiving to you. And it's a little bittersweet that we're already here at the end of yet another SEC and college football season.
Yep, absolutely. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that you and I were together in Atlanta talking about what the season was going to be, and now it's Thanksgiving. Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, time does fly, and coaching rumors fly, and I want to jump into this with you. Let's start with the latest rumblings on the Auburn coaching search. The Lane Kiffin rumors are out there. What are you hearing on that front? Is this a real possibility of happening?
Yeah, it is. I'm not going to give names, but if this does not happen, I'll be extremely shocked. I've got some folks that are associated with Ole Miss and some folks that are associated with Auburn that have told me that it's extremely likely, even with some specifics of how it might transpire. But you never want to, you just never want to know. I mean, I think Rich Rodriguez was going to Alabama, and that fell through. They ended up with Saban, and Tuberville was not going to Auburn from Ole Miss, and like 24 hours later, he's in Auburn signing a contract. You can't trust what's going on. They have coach speak, and when you hear coach speak, you pretty well know that something might be going on. It's my understanding that the actual terms of a contract with Kiffin have not been finalized. As soon as I say that, they'll announce before we get off the air that it's been finished. But that's my understanding, that the details have not been finalized, but that something drastic would have to happen for that not to take place. In fact, I'll say this: there's a show, a radio show out of Oxford that's literally going on right now, and someone that's been listening to the show called me 15 minutes ago. And that show is already talking about who, and it's out of Oxford, already talking about who the coach is going to be next year and which players may or may not leave Ole Miss.
Wow.
So, but here's the thing, Ole Miss could pop in there and give him $15 million today. Something could crash on the other end. I mean, you've been doing this long enough that you've seen a lot of things that looked like they were going to happen that didn't happen.
Oh yeah, a year ago we were hearing it was a done deal with Lincoln Riley to LSU, and then he ends up going to USC, and Brian Kelly goes to LSU. So these things always change.
And who would have ever guessed that Brian Kelly would leave Notre Dame to go anywhere?
Right.
Much less go to LSU that was having a problem. And so you just don't know. But if my feet were pressed to the fire to guess what's going to happen, Kiffin will take the job at Auburn. I think the main question would be, when does he do it? It's my understanding he met with his players yesterday before the Egg Bowl meeting and told them that he had not yet taken a job at any other school, that he was still the coach at Ole Miss, and they needed to look at it that way. That's not exactly a confirmation or denial, but that doesn't leave it unopen for him to make the move to me. I think the question would be, do you go on and announce that he's going to take the job after the Egg Bowl and before the Auburn-Alabama game? Would it help knowing that a big-name coach like that's going to be coming? Would it help for him to go down to Auburn and talk to the team before they leave to go to Tuscaloosa? Or would it be better, since Auburn's really been on the roll since the halftime break of the Mississippi State game? They've been a pretty good football team. And do you want to potentially mess up the synergy there by going in and interjecting another element before that ball game? Would it be better to wait till after the Auburn-Alabama game? Well, and see what happens?
I think of it this way, Lynn. If Cadillac beats Auburn or beats Alabama in the Iron Bowl, I feel like you're going to have even more people pushing for him to get that job. So why not make the Kiffin news official before then, to at least protect yourselves if you're Auburn, because, man, there's already so many people in that fan base that love Cadillac and love what he's done so far. If he goes and beats Bryce Young in Alabama, there's going to be a lot of people clamoring for him to get that job.
I think that's true. I think you're right. I know some Auburn people that want to get the job. I also know a lot of Auburn people that love Carnell. And I know him. And I can give some examples of some interaction that I've had with him that shows what a good guy he is. And you've got to love his enthusiasm and the energy that he's brought. I suspect that if the deal with Kiffin is set up, I suspect it's not going to catch the Auburn coaches off guard. I suspect that Carnell and the other coaches already know that. I'll be very surprised if Kiffin or anybody, takes the job that's not Carnell. I'll be shocked if Carnell is not on the staff in a responsible position, possibly even put in charge of recruiting. I have no inside information, but I would say anybody that is not astute enough, not experienced enough in SEC football to know that Cornell Williams needs to be on that staff in a responsible position, then he's probably not a guy you want to offer the job to in the first place. And since Kiffin now, if he goes to Auburn, will have been at Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, and Auburn. He will have been at 4 SEC schools. I would think he probably is wise enough to know what's going on. And, hey, there are some really good coaches on that staff. Ike Hilliard from Florida is receivers coach. You don't get much better than him. You've got 2 former All-SEC players from Auburn, Zach Etheridge with the defensive backs, and Jimmy Brumbaugh with the defensive line that are on that staff, and Kendall Simmons, who has I believe Kendall's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Was an All-American at Auburn. He's the offensive line coach. So I'm sure Kiffin or whoever would want to bring a lot of their own people with them. But there are some good coaches on that staff right now, and they've sort of been turned loose to do their job in the last 3 weeks. And I don't mean that as a way to put Harsin down, but you've noticed a significant difference in the last 3 ball games with the guys that I've just named being the coaching staff.
And before we get into some of the games this weekend, you've covered the Auburn program a long time. Just your general thoughts on the fit. What do you make of Lane Kiffin, the Auburn coach, if this does indeed happen?
I think he could be a better fit than most people realize at a place like Auburn. And I'll acknowledge that I've never met Kiffin one-on-one. I mean, I've been in rooms where he was being interviewed, probably like you have, but I don't know him. I knew what his image was, and his image was created in the early part of his career, both in professionally, where some programs had questionable things about him, and his personal life, his personal situation, and both of those created his reputation and his how people perceived him, and he's acknowledged that. But he also has matured. He publicly put out a piece right before he left Florida Atlantic to go to Ole Miss, where he sort of threw himself on his own sword and said, some of the issues I've had, some of the perceptions I've had have been my own fault. I'm not the same person I was when I started my coaching career, and I hope I'm having a more positive impact on players than I was at that time. If in fact that's sincere, and I have no reason to believe it's not, he might be a better fit at a conservative fan base like Auburn than what your first thought might be.
Continue our conversation with Lyn Scarbrough of Lindy Sports. And Lyn, let's get into some of the games happening this weekend. Got a couple of games on Friday, so let's dive into those. Arkansas, Mizzou on Friday. To me, it's going to be fun, if nothing, for 5-6 Mizzou fighting for bowl eligibility. And Arkansas, they want to cap this season with a win. Sam Pittman going 7-5 sounds a whole lot better than 6-6. Who do you like in this one?
Well, I think Arkansas will win the game. If it was played at Arkansas, I'd definitely take Arkansas. Missouri's lost some close ball games. They've won some as well. And their quarterback play has been better than what I think most people thought it was going to be. It would be a big help for the SEC if Missouri could win, if Auburn could win, and if Vanderbilt could win, because that would give another bowl eligible team or teams if those could happen. I think Arkansas will win the game. I think they're a better team overall. A Missouri win wouldn't shock me, but I'm going with Arkansas.
Another one happening on Friday, Billy Napier's first season at Florida. Kind of been a roller coaster. I mean, they crushed South Carolina 2 weeks ago, and then they go lose at Vandy last weekend. They go to Tallahassee to face Florida State on Friday night. There's another case of 7-5 would feel a whole lot better than 6-6 in year one for Napier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Florida State. I think Florida State's a better team. They're more consistent. They're ranked. They finally squeaked back into the top 25. Florida State's been down for a while, and in the latter years of Bowden, Jimbo had a couple of really good years there, and then it just kind of faded downhill. I think he got out while the getting was good out of Tallahassee. And it's been a while since they've been up where they, we're used to them being 15, 20 years ago. I think Florida State wins the game.
LSU at 4-7, Texas A&M. Obviously, LSU a much better team, but this is A&M Super Bowl. I mean, they're not going to a bowl game. It's been a rough season. I bet they'd feel a lot better about themselves and Jimbo Fisher if they could ruin LSU's season. Do the Aggies have any shot?
I mean, they got a shot. I mean, your understatement of the year was just made when you said that Texas A&M has been a rough year. That's like saying the Titanic has a leak in the boiler room. There's no Quinn has, and I know we got a lot of A&M people in the audience, and I've got a close relationship with folks at Tex Ags, so I'm not trying to be ugly about it. But I've been covering football games for a good bit more than 50 years, and I don't remember the last time that a team with such high expectations had such low performance. We picked the number 5 in the country. They're not going to win 5 games. I don't remember. This absolutely it wouldn't make their year. Nothing can happen that would make their year. At least it would end it on a positive note. I don't see it happening. LSU is like several teams this weekend. They have to win, Chris, because Southern Cal, TCU, Clemson, LSU, they have no wiggle room. If they lose another game, everyone I've named, if they lose another game, their chance of being in the college football playoff is gone. And LSU's the same way. That if they lose this ball game, they're still going to play Georgia, and they can still beat Georgia. But a 2-loss LSU team has got to have everything fall just right to get to the college football playoff. A 3-loss LSU team has no chance, even if they beat Georgia 50-0. So, LSU's a better team. They've got much more on the line. I can't see them losing. I think they'll win the game.
South Carolina plays at Clemson, and Clemson's over a 2-touchdown favorite. But this one looks a little bit different than we would have thought of it a week ago, Lynn, after Spencer Rattler had the game of not only his South Carolina career, but his entire college football career. His best game in college that he's ever played, putting up the 6-touchdown performance against Tennessee last week. Maybe it's overreacting to what we just saw last week, but I think South Carolina's got a chance. Clemson's defense is very good, but man, if they play like they did a week ago, they got a shot.
I definitely think they got a shot. There's any question they've got a shot. I think Clemson will win, and I think Clemson will win for the same reason I said that before about LSU, is that they have to win. South Carolina's playing for pride and to mess up their in-state rival. Clemson's playing for a chance to go to the college football playoff. But in order to do that, they got to beat South Carolina, and then they got to turn around and win the championship game. So they still got 2 more games in which they're at jeopardy. The thing with South Carolina, they're the most inconsistent team in the country. Their defense is consistent. It gave up 38 points to Florida, and it gave up 38 points to Tennessee. Problem is that in the Florida game, they got 38 points and scored 6. In the Tennessee game, they gave up 38 points and scored 63. That's a 57-point difference in the offensive performance. Defense did exactly the same. There's no way to explain what happened in the Tennessee game. Hendon Hooker getting hurt had nothing to do with it. They were already behind by 20 points or something. When that happened, we do a Lindy's newsletter every week, and then we'll do a end of the year newsletter. And I'm the one that has to do those, and I choose the offensive player, the defensive player, the quote of the year, and the upset of the year. I can't imagine anything is going to stop me from having South Carolina, a 22.5-point underdog who got massacred 38-6 the week before, beating Tennessee and putting up 63 points. With that being said, I can't see Clemson losing at home.
Yeah.
So I think South Carolina is a dangerous team. If the South Carolina team that played Florida shows up, it'll be comical. If the one that played Tennessee shows up, then this game could be a fourth quarter ball game, and Clemson people will be on the edge of their seats. But I do take Clemson to win. 2
more for you. I don't know if there's been a more fun story the last 2 weeks, Lynn, than the Vanderbilt Commodores. Clark Lee's got that team playing hard and believing. They beat Kentucky, they beat Florida. Now they've hosted Vanderbilt, trying to get that 6th win and get to a bowl game. Hosting Tennessee without Hendon Hooker. Joe Milton, I presume, is going to get the start for Tennessee. This is a winnable game now for Vandy.
It is. It is a winnable game for Vandy, and for a lot of reasons. Vanderbilt is playing with confidence. They're having fun. A team with confidence that's got the right mental attitude is often turns out to be better than the more talented team. Vanderbilt may be in this position. Wright, the quarterback, has been doing very well. And they've been able to make plays when they had to, which they used to never do that. Tennessee, on the other hand, cannot be more crestfallen. They now have nothing to play for. They can't play for the college football playoff, and it's their own fault. So they've got to be as emotionally down as Vanderbilt is emotionally up, and they're doing it without Hendon Hooker, who now's not going to be in the finalist for the Heisman Trophy. He's not going to be playing. You got Joe Milton, who has played before, and he's a talented quarterback, but he's going on the road against his in-state rival in his first start. And again, I'm going to take Tennessee just because of the overall talent level at Tennessee. But this absolutely is a game that would not shock me to see Vanderbilt win, and the intangible factors go Vanderbilt's way.
Last one for you, Lynn. The Iron Bowl is Saturday afternoon in Tuscaloosa. Again, this just feels like it's going to be the final home game for Will Anderson and Bryce Young at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and they want to go out there and shine. So, look, the Cadillac story has been great, and he's gotten these guys up and ready to play these last couple of weeks, but it just feels to me like Alabama's going to be a little bit too strong in this one.
Well, I'll take Alabama to win the game. There's a lot of factors here. Very similar to what I've been saying on some of these other games about the factors. Alabama's a good team, but they're not playing for a championship. They're not. They didn't win the West. They're not going to be in the college football playoff. You can make a case that they could be 10-0 or 11-0. They very well could have beaten Tennessee, and they very well could have beaten LSU. They also could be 6-5. They very well could have lost to, and probably should have lost to, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. Last play by Ole Miss was a pass to the end zone. If it's complete, Alabama loses. Texas A&M fans in the audience, this is the worst Texas A&M team in a long time, and they probably should have beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa, had them on the ropes at the end, and Alabama came on at the end and beat Texas. We got Texas fans in the audience too. So Alabama could have won 2 more, but they could have lost 3 more. This could be an Alabama team with 0 losses and an Alabama team with 5 losses. Very little difference between that. Alabama last year had the 3 great receivers. This year they just don't have a game breaker. Last year they had defensive backs that were fantastic. This year their defensive backfield does not have the big names of the talent, and they've given up long key drives to multiple teams this year to have them in the position that they're in. Bryce Young's had a great year, but it's not been as good a year as it was last year. And a lot of that's because he doesn't have the receiving core that he had last time. And the defense has been staying on the field longer and not giving him as much time with the ball. It's still a very good Alabama team. They're playing at home. And they remember last year. Auburn with possibly less talent. Alabama with much more talent. With a minute left in the game, Auburn's ahead and Alabama's never had the lead. And Auburn people will tell you if they call the safety in the end zone when Auburn had punted them down to the 2-yard line, that Auburn would have won the game 12-3. And that's, you're not going to hear a different story. And so Alabama people remember that. The Cornell Williams story with the emotion that they've gotten here. Alabama's had trouble with running quarterbacks. It's possible that Auburn can win the game. Stranger things have happened in the Auburn-Alabama game, as you know. But the coaching situation, this could work very much in Auburn's favor, or it can work very much against Auburn. You don't know how that's going to go, and you don't know what's going to transpire in this Lane Kiffin situation. And we've still got 3 days for it to transpire. They don't play till Saturday. So the highs and the lows emotionally that could come with that are a factor. But I will take Alabama to win the game. That's the logical thing to do, and they probably will. But just like with Vanderbilt, don't be surprised if Auburn gives them a better game. I don't see this being a 22-point game with South Carolina and Clemson. I don't see it being a 22-point game with Auburn and Alabama, and I'm not sure that I see it being a 14-17, whatever point game it is with Tennessee and Vanderbilt. I think you've got dangerous teams playing against supposedly better teams, and it wouldn't surprise me if at least one of those teams that we've been talking about in these 3 or 4 games, all of them aren't going to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them did.
He is Lyn Scarbrough, of course, from Lindy Sports and lindysports.com. Lyn, happy Thanksgiving to you, and we'll talk to you next week for a conference championship weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to take 30 more seconds. I want to thank everybody in the audience that listens to this station and listens to this show and listens to the Lindy's Football Report on this network. We got a lot to be thankful for, Chris, in this country, and the freedom to do what we're doing right here is one of them. I want everybody in our audience to have a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend, and let's talk next week.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Lyn. Appreciate it, man.
Okay, man. Talk to you soon.
All right. Lyn Scarbrough there of Lindy Sports. Great stuff, as always, with him. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, game recaps, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. We'll talk to you guys very soon right here on Locked On SEC, covering the SEC every day.